What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another NBA Rundown brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Bets and Run Pure Sports. I'm here live with JSU. JSU, big card today. How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Yesterday was a solid day in DFS. I thought for the most part we gave decent takes on this show as well, except for my favorite bet, which did not go under the total. So I was definitely wrong there. But the Gordon Hayward prop hit in the first 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward over 1.5 threes. When Malik Monk got ruled out, I was like, oh, this is a lock. Like, this is a lock. And he did it in 5 minutes. So I was at least happy that cashed. And, I thought, we were on Denver. I think that worked out well. I'm
Really
pretty
well. That was
sure.
easy. It was no sweat. I'd switched to third
Yeah,
quarter. Yeah.
Phoenix. I'm pretty sure
We
that
covered.
cashed
We
too.
barely
So
covered that one.
barely covered, but we were all on Phoenix. I don't think any of us were on the other side.
Right.
And Magic, we all said it right. It was dog or pass. So, I think for the most part, we were pretty solid on this show. I forget what your best bet was. What was your best bet spread?
The Suns.
The Suns. So yeah, cash. I mean, hopefully we can keep it running pure here today.
Yeah, I can feel it. Doing good. For a huge card, I don't have a lot of looks that I love, but I think we're going to be able to find some winners. And it's funny you brought up Malik Monk. I think that he's such a instructive for us not to bury these players in their first 2 years when they don't do well. I mean, how much flack did Malik Monk get? And he's turned out to be, a competent, capable NBA scorer. So just keep that in mind when you're running down your favorite team's rookie or second year player. But let's jump straight into the card today. The first one we have, and this is a fun game. JSU, Miami Heat 23 and 24, 19 and 27 against the spread, heading to Indiana to take on the Pacers, who are 21 and 24, 18 and 27 against the spread. A couple teams that basically, are disappointing their records at this point of the year. We keep waiting for these teams to turn around. They both have not done it yet, and they've both been dealing with a lot of things. Obviously, the Pacers and the injuries, the trade, working people in, and the Heat missing so much time with all the COVID protocols. These two teams played last week in Miami, and Indiana won both. So Indiana will be looking for the season sweep. They're catching a point and a half at home on a total of 218 and a half. What do you think, JSU? Can Indiana make it 3 games in a row against the Miami Heat?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure one of those games at least. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Butler didn't he miss one of those games? Yeah, I thought someone was out, but maybe not. I'm not sure. But either way, I think this is a spot where Miami brings enough problems with Indiana. Indiana struggles against athletic bigs. We've been targeting it in DFS. I think it's a really good spot for Bam. And they also have a few role players that are questionable. Doug McDermott, Jeremy Lamb, both questionable scoring guys off the bench where just going to put more pressure on their starters to have to carry a bigger load if those guys are out. Because, like I said, it's not like they're really good players by any means, but what they provide is key, right? They provide some scoring off the bench. Jeremy Lamb can create his own shot. And Doug McDermott, obviously, he's key because he's one of their better 3-point shooters on the team. And, he's running around coming off screens. And it just gives another problem for the defense to have to try and handle. So I think those guys that's somewhat key injury news. But I do lean the Miami side, even though they've struggled against this Indiana team to date. I think Miami gets it done here. And right now we're looking at a spread. It's pretty close, right?
It's basically just pick the winner. I mean, you
Yeah,
can grab Indiana plus 1.5, but I personally would grab Indiana plus 105 on the money line. If it lands on the one, then whatever. But the 15 cents of juice that you're getting is so much more valuable long term than grabbing that 1 point for the 2% outcomes where it lands on that 1 point.
Yeah, so I guess my lean is Miami here. Looks like you're more on the Indiana side.
I am, but not enough to play it. Like I said, there was a lot of things on this card today. I see it's now moved to 2. So Miami's taking money. I'm wondering if that is the Doug McDermott news. He can't even be worth that much, though, can he?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so, but
Yeah, that must just be market money moving that line.
maybe.
Yeah, I don't love Indiana here though. Because I was on the wrong side of those last games. I thought Miami would do well. I don't think I had them twice. I think I had them on the would have been the zigzag right after they lost the first one. I thought they'd come back, and they actually got stomped in the second game after
Yeah.
losing a really close first game to Indiana. So I don't love it. When you're making the lineups with a total 218, how do you feel? Are we going to try and get some of these guys? I saw they did have huge games when they did play last time, though.
Yeah.
Butler had 21 and 15 in the 3-point loss, and Bam had 29 and 10. So are we going to try and get some of these Heat players in tonight?
I definitely think these Heat players are in pretty good spots here. Specifically the two studs, Bam and Jimmy. We're finally starting to see Jimmy's price tag go down. He's 8,800 on DraftKings, 9K on FanDuel. So it's definitely a spot where I like jumping back on Jimmy here. When he's over 9K, it's tough for me to pay for Jimmy when everyone's
Mm-hmm.
healthy, even though he has done well this year and produced even in some of those spots where he's over 9K. But I do think at 8,800, that's a very nice price tag. Also, too, Kendrick Nunn, who he's questionable for
Mm-hmm.
today, and I think that opens up a few more minutes, maybe for a guy like Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero. So I think a guy like Goran Dragic, who is very cheap on some of these sites, Dragic's 4,800, I'm pretty sure on FanDuel, 5,100 on DraftKings. I think he's a guy who we could look to. And he was the guy that missed, I'm pretty sure, the last game they played. He was the
Mm-hmm.
one guy who missed. He wasn't there. But I do think, if none is out, we could get Dragic. Even if, I don't know if he starts, he may start, he may not. But I think he plays 30 minutes in a close game as opposed to the 24 we've seen the last couple games. So that would be a nice little bump if we could get him around that 30 mark. I think he's very intriguing at that price.
All right, so JSU likes Miami to pull off the win there in Indiana. The next game we're going to talk about the Portland Trailblazers heading to Detroit. The Trailblazers are 28 and 18, 23 and 22 against the spread. The Pistons are 13 and 33, but 24 and 19 against the spread. And I think this is another great opportunity for them to add to that ATS record tonight, catching 7.5 at home against the Portland team. This will be the fourth game of a road trip. They're just coming from Tampa to Detroit, where they got a 5-point win over the Raptors. The Trailblazers obviously integrating Norman Powell into their lineup, and they're actually doing it quite well. Seems to be a seamless transition there. Detroit just kind of playing out the rest of the games, trying to get that lottery pick. Be interesting to see who they get and build around here. But regardless, we've talked about it before. The higher the spread gets, the more I like the Pistons. And at the end of a road trip where I think that, the Trailblazers could just be trying to get out of here with a win, I don't see any reason why they would go for margin here, why they're going to go ahead and push it. This just seems like a complete business trip. Get in, get out. I'll take the 7.5. What do you think?
Yeah, so Portland, I said it like this team just doesn't play any defense. Like they
Mm-hmm.
are bottom in defense. They're awful, and it just continues, right? Like we saw an Orlando Magic team. I'm pretty sure a couple games ago where they were missing so many guys,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone was like, "Oh, you can't play blowout, all this stuff." Everyone was worried. And Orlando, hung in there, and you know what I mean. Like it's just one of those spots where I said to myself, I don't care who's playing. Like Ken Burch, it doesn't matter to me. Chumo, Kiki, all these guys. I'm like, they're gonna crush because Portland doesn't guard anyone. All they care
Mm-hmm.
about is scoring. All they care about is the offensive end. They don't play defense. And so even in these spots where you got teams that are clearly like not good teams, right? Detroit is not a good team. I still think that they can at least hang and score enough where I lean the Detroit side because I don't trust Portland to defend.
Exactly. And, yeah, and you factor in the fatigue. I talked yesterday. I jumped on the Triple Double show. It's an Australian show. Sponsored by Top Sport down there for the Australian punters, as they like to call them. And I just talked about the end of the road trips is when you want to target these teams. This has just been a beautiful week because a lot of these teams come out of the All-Star break, they go to these huge road trips, and now we can target them here. I think this is a great spot. Not a lot of people are going to want to put their money on Detroit. They are 13-33, right? Not a lot of big names here. In Portland, obviously getting all the attention. Everybody loves Dame Lillard, and how could you not? What a fantastic player. But I love Detroit getting the 7.5 here. This is one of my more favorite plays of the day. What was the total here in this game? Sorry, I switched away from it. It is 221. How do you feel about the total, and who are you going to put up in the lineup?
The total, I probably lean over, honestly. For my lineup, I don't know. I think there's going to be some value in this game. Wayne Ellington's doubtful. Roddy Magruder's out. Ellington was seeing, mid-20s minutes, guard, a position where they have guys, but some of them are out. So, it kind of opens up some spots, I think, for maybe a Hamidou Diallo. If he's having a good game, maybe he could see some extended run. We might see. I wrote, I'm writing the playbook today for Rumpier Sports for the DFS side, and I just started kind of looking at this first game, and we might see. Who knows? We might see Frank Jackson start. We've seen him start before, right? So at 3.2K, if Frank Jackson starts against a Portland team that plays no defense, I think he's someone we could look at. So it all kind of depends what they end up doing. I want to see who they run out there for a starting lineup because, like I said, it could be Frank Jackson, it could be Diallo. I assume that Justin Jackson stays on the bench. They really don't like starting him, so I assume he stays on the bench. Corey Joseph and Saban Lee, it just looks like they're going to pretty much split the point guard minutes, around 25, 26 minutes each, where at their price tags, could you look at them in this soft matchup? Yeah, you could look at them. So I think the value on the Detroit side is where you look. Another guy, Isaiah Stewart, it stinks because he fights with Plumlee for minutes. But if you catch the game where Isaiah Stewart kind of against Toronto, he gets 30, but he gets 30 in this matchup against Portland, he could smash in this matchup against Portland. So I think he's another guy. I think it's the value on the Detroit side we look at. And then if you look at anyone from the Portland side, CJ, I think CJ is someone we could look at, right? Has the upside. He's not as expensive as Dame Lillard and can still pop off and have a huge game. Also, too, Yusuf Nurkic, if he gets a minutes bump, which they've kept him around 20 so far, but if they were to come out and say, hey, we're going to bump his minutes and, he's going to see 25 to 28 minutes or something like that, at 5'3" or whatever he is on DraftKings, I think he'd be more in play if he was getting 25 to 28 minutes. So he's another guy I think, depending on news, we could look at for DraftKings. But yeah, one player prop that kind of stuck out to me as well, CJ McCollum, he's went over this number his last 3 games, 21.5 points. I kind of like the over of 21.5. Like I said, went over that the last 3 games. The dude could go over that in a quarter the way he plays. It's just amazing. And the thing with Norman Powell is he does well in this, he fits well in this offense, but he is a complete stand in the corner shooter. The guys with the ball are Dame and CJ, and that's never changing. So if you think Norman Powell's going to see a spot where, he can create a little bit more with nope, he's on another team where they have 2 guards and they are ball dominant, and he's just going to stand in the corner pretty much.
Yeah, it's so funny. Everyone loved the Norman Powell edition. I feel the same thing almost like you do. It's he's such a ball handler. I don't know why they're so adverse to trading.
Well, he's just another shooter, right? I mean, and he's a good shooter at that. Don't get me wrong. He is definitely a good shooter. And I think as a shooter, if you look at him and Gary Trent, I think you say, okay, Norman Powell's definitely had a better year shooting the basketball. So is it an upgrade? Yeah, maybe it is. Defensively, I thought Trent was a pretty good defender. So I think all in all, defensively, they almost kind of wash out because I think Trent's a pretty solid defender. But whatever. The trade's fine to me, but CJ and Dame are the guys that are going to be, doing everything. It's, Norman Powell's just going to get, lucky the games that he gets like a bunch of wide open threes from CJ and Dame, kicking it to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a great breakdown, JSU. And if you like the great breakdowns, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We will keep them coming. The next game, Dallas Mavericks 24 and 21, 21 and 24 against the spread. Head to Boston to take on the Celtics 23 and 24, 22 and 25 against the spread. JSU, when I was doing my prep this morning, this is one of the games that I circled that I couldn't wait to hear your opinion about, because I'll tell you what, I didn't get involved in a side yet, but I think this game is fascinating here, right? Boston had the absolutely terrible debut of Fournier, right? He can't possibly play that bad again, right? And Dallas is coming off an absolute beatdown of Oklahoma City. Now they meet off. Both teams need the game. I'm not capping motivation here. I'm expecting to get 100% effort from both teams. So it's just cap the two basketball teams. How do you see this game playing out? I think it's fascinating, but I didn't land on a side yet.
Yeah, so I remember we had this exact game, and I'm pretty sure it was me, you, and Mangone on this show. And you guys both leaned the Boston side. And I remember because it was a close spread. KP was out for Dallas, and it was still a pretty close spread. And maybe it was maybe it was like 2 or 3, but it was still pretty close. And I remember you guys both leaned that way. I leaned the Dallas way. That was the game where I think Luka hit like a game-winning shot to kind of finish it at the very end, but it was close, like the entire game, right? It was very close. Luka had a really big game that game. I'm kind of feeling that this is a game where the Mavericks kind of get back and they beat Boston. I don't love the way Boston's played. And if you look at some of the recent games that Boston has played in, and I know some of them, the game against OKC, they were without Kemba. Like, okay, that's fine. But they had Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And if you look at the score, you're going to say, oh, JSU, they handled them 111-94. No, they did not. I watched that entire game. And that game was close until like the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, where Tatum caught fire and Luke Cornett came in and gave them a boost in the fourth quarter and played the entire fourth quarter. But that game was way closer than I think people understand. Moses Brown had a 17-19 game at halftime. They were getting dominated inside by Moses Brown. And this is an OKC team. No Al Horford, no SGA. Lou Dort got a concussion, I'm pretty sure, and only played like a few minutes. So he was out of that game. Like, that is a game where Boston should put it on that OKC team and be winning by 15-20 after, the first quarter, like second quarter on. They should be imposing their will, and instead they just let lesser teams hang around. And it's the story of Boston. Like, that's just what they do. They play down the competition consistently. Now, do they get up for this game against Luka? I don't know, but honestly, I don't trust them. And that's why I lean the Dallas side. I actually trust, even though Luka has had 2 okay and not so great games, the last 2 games, they were both kind of blowout games, right? Where he didn't see his full run anyways. So in this game, I expected to see full run. My only worry is the last game, there was no Marcus Smart. This game, right, there is Marcus Smart. That is the only worry I have when it comes to Luka, because it does make me think a little, but I'm leaning the Dallas side. I'm interested to see, are you leaning the Boston side here?
I did not have a side at all. That's why I couldn't wait to hear you about it, because it's like when I'm going through the games, I've already circled this as, okay, this is going to be on one of my TVs, right? Because I run 2 or 3 TVs while I'm watching all the games, right? So I usually circle, it's usually what I'm betting on and then what I'm interested in, right? So I already circled this as an interested, but I cannot fall on a side here. The game that you referred to earlier that Mangone and I were wrong on and you were right on was on February 23rd. It was a 3-point win. And I remember watching that one as well because, right, we had a lot of fun. We were going back and forth on the show. And it was a close game, right? Right up until the end, I really thought that we had it. And Luka really took over in those last 2 minutes. It's hard for me to see how that doesn't happen again, right? And then, of course, we're waiting on news. Jaylen Brown questionable. What do you make of that? He missed the game on Monday night. I thought, okay, Fournier will step in. They'll lose a little bit on defense. They still won't be able to score. They missed him a lot. So, how are you handicapping this as far as if Jaylen Brown's in? Would that change your mind? Would you be a little more willing to
Yeah.
jump on this Boston side?
I
Or, I
think
mean,
Jalen
now that
Brown
he's
makes
out?
a big difference for sure. I think if Jalen Brown's in, it could sway me honestly. It could sway me onto the Boston side.
Hmm.
Um, just a matter of inconsistency though. When I watch the Celtics, and maybe it's I'm from Boston, hometown team. Maybe it's I put a little too much into them because growing up, I was a fan. I'm not
Hmm.
as much of a fan of the Celtics anymore. More just a lover of basketball in general and love to watch all sports, all basketball games. But I do think Jalen Brown, would make me feel a little more comfortable about backing the Celtics, where we have such a close spread. And Smart is there. Like I said, Smart on the defensive side is a big thing for me because, man, they can put him on KP and battle KP if they want to. He can just
Hmm.
do so many things that are just so underrated. So it does worry me a little, but I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game. Jalen Brown, if he's out, I definitely lean Dallas though.
Yeah, I think that's the news we'll wait for. So I will be watching NBA Hardwood live over on the Run Pure Sports channel.
Wait, Landa goes. JSU was right. Mangum was wrong. I'm shocked. See, this is why I love Landa. Landa, one of my favorite guys. He's always hanging out. He's always watching the shows, which I love and appreciate him for, anyways. But then he just throws in those comments that it's like, that's right, Landa. That's what I'm talking about, Mangone. Where are you right now? Like, no one's shocked that you were wrong and I was right when we have different sides. I just love man. I love Mangone. I love picking on Mangone. Also, we got Tar Heel Tim in the chat. He says, "Love the show, guys. Appreciate you." Stress one as well. Watch the show daily. Great show. Really appreciate it, guys. Hopefully, we can keep the show informative, but also have a little fun as well.
Yeah, we're having fun. We're picking winners. I think it's been going great. For
Yeah.
us. I mean, Run Pure Bets is a relatively new company, and I think that we're really picking up steam here. We found a way to give out winners, have a good time, and I think that one cool thing that we're doing here is kind of merging the DFS and the bets, right? Because I know when I watch Hardwood Live, it's all DFS. When I watch the other shows, because I do watch the other shows that are going on in the industry for the bets, it's all bets. And I think that we're merging it here, and by finding those connections, hey, look, these guys are going to get minutes. These are guys we're targeting in DFS. Let's go ahead and use that in our handicap, right? All the information we can use helps us to find these winners, and that's what we're trying to do at the end of the day. So JSU likes Dallas here. I guess I lean to Dallas too. The more I talk to them, I think the home court could help. I know that Boston, definitely is helped by the home court. They haven't been the best road team this year, but with so many games, this wasn't one that I was necessarily excited to get down on. For the live betters in the chat, this is going to be a great arbitrage game. You should be able to get over plus 150 on both sides. I do not see a wire-to-wire blowout win for either team. Let's talk
Also,
about it.
too,
Go ahead.
one other thing, just want to say because Luca's numbers rebounding have been down a little
Hmm.
bit, but I would say when you can get a prop like 7.5 on a guy like Luca, where like
Hmm.
his rebounding total. Remember, this dude, has triple double upside every time he steps up on the court, and
Hmm.
I just look at that number for the player, and I know you're going to say like, oh, the last 5 games. He hasn't went over 7.5 in only one of those 5 games. But I'm just saying, like, I look at that number and I think that's kind of a small number to me, where I could look at it and see an over bet there. Just throwing out a prop if you're looking for a prop, but I do think that's kind of low to me for a guy like Luca.
It's funny. And I'm going completely on a tangent here, but I was listening to an analytics guy yesterday on a podcast, and I couldn't disagree with him. He was making the argument that over the last 10 years, with the 5-out offenses and everyone falling back, that rebounding has become the stat that that has like the least predictive value over the last 10 years, and it's basically just lost all its
Well,
predictive
you know
value.
why Luca always rebounds well because he always hangs out around the rim.
Yeah.
Like he always like leaves his guy and goes. That's one of the things he's known for is like just hanging, because what he wants to do, and I don't think people understand, like you need to think about this when it comes to basketball. This is Luka's game. Think about this for a second. He wants to get the ball and go. Think about if he can just get the rebound and run, that's his ultimate goal. So, but if he needs a big to get the rebound and then an outlet, it's actually honestly sometimes a little slower for him.
Exactly.
And so that's why he always runs to the rim to get the rebound. He wants to get the rebound and friggin' go. He doesn't want to wait for that big to turn and look to give me the ball. He wants to get it and go. And, so the defense is somewhat confused, right? Because if you push the ball, that's the one thing in transition. Sometimes defenders get lost. Maybe the guy who's supposed to be guarding him, is lost and he has someone else guarding him. So you get mismatches. That's what Luka wants to create. You know what I mean? He wants to create those mismatches. He wants defenses to not be set, to be confused. And that's where he does the most damage. That's why he's always been a great rebounder.
Well, and the other thing, too, is if we're on a team, right, and there's three of us there, and it's an uncontested rebound, right? My defense they've all gone back to guard the three-point line. It makes sense. They gave Russ crap for this, but it would make sense, right? If JSU, you and I are forwards, we would let the point guard grab the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go,
yeah,
right. Let's go. We want
that's like when I used to play. If I was ever down there trying to get a rebound, and like no one else was around, no one's gonna fight me for the ball because I wanted to get it and run. You know what I mean? That was the whole point. But that's why, like, when you get Luka down there, they know, like, let him get the ball because I'm giving it to him anyways. So, I might as well just let him get the ball.
All right, a long tangent there, but the idea there was go for Luka over 7.5 rebounds on a prop. We definitely think it's good value, and that there will be chances to exploit that number that they've put up there due to his recent dip in productivity from the rebounding statistic. The Houston Rockets head to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Houston's 13-33, 14-32 against the spread. The Nets 32-15, but only 23-24 against the spread. I mean, is Harden revenge even a narrative anymore, or at this point does he no longer care?
No, listen, Harden, the narrative is real. Harden hates this team. So the narrative is definitely real. I went back and kind of looked at that last game because that was another, thing I wanted to look at. The guy played 40 minutes against his old team, dropped 73 fantasy points. He had a triple-double, and it was like an easy triple-double too. Like it was so easy, effortless. They obviously handled them. Like this is what's going to happen though, right? So we have a pretty big spread, right? What is it? 14
12 and a half.
Oh, it's 12.
Well, let me see. 12 and a half. Tell bookmaker 12 and a half.
Okay, so 12 and a half. Still, big spread. You got Wall, who's questionable for this game. I mean, if Wall's out, then the blowout risk becomes really real to me. It's already real, though, right? Even if Wall plays, it's still a real thing. But I think if Wall's out, then we really have to worry about it. But even in that situation, what's he going to play, 31 minutes and have the triple-double in 31 minutes? Like, I just think the guy it's going to be tough to not look his way. And I'm interested to see, like, what the props are on him because I would have to assume that Harden and the triple-double odds have to be he's plus 150 for a triple-double, which I think is very likely here. What has he got? Over on his 3-point over 2.5. That seems kind of low to me, honestly, for a guy who 8 threes, 11, 7, 9, 8, 9. I mean, the guy's taken 8 or more 3-point attempts in his last 6 games. I mean, 2.5 seems like something he could get over. 27.5 points. I mean, if this game stays close and the guy plays 40 minutes, he's getting over, I think, all of these numbers. Like, I think he gets the triple-double. He gets the over on threes. He gets the over on probably 27 and a half. Like, honestly, that's how I feel about James Harden. So it all depends on the game. But I don't know, Spread. Do you see him just like, oh, we have this game after the first half. I'm just going to, like, go easy the second half. Like, I don't. I see him stuffing it down their throats. Yeah, no, he never does.
I remember him arguing with D'Antoni to get back in games where they're up by like 17.
20, yeah, like 20. And he's arguing to get back in the game. You don't think they're going to let this guy play, into the mid fourth quarter, even if they're up 20? It's like on the rotation. I forget the exact rotation, if he starts the fourth or if Irving does. But either way, this dude's going to play 30 minutes, maybe more, if the game stays close, and he's going to crush. It's just how much, right? That's the question.
All right, I got to ask you about another tangent. Did you see the KD DMs with Michael Rappaport?
Yes, I did. Yes,
what did you make of that?
I mean, I make of it that KD has thin skin. Like,
it's crazy, huh?
I think that KD is just the most talented NBA player by far. That's how good I think. I think he's just the best player overall. I think if you just took his talent, it's like there is nobody like him. A 7-footer, the way he can shoot and dribble and just do everything, create for others. It's amazing. My issue, like, how do you even respond to someone like that? Like, who cares? Like, dude, it doesn't matter. Like, just, I don't know. That's me, though. I understand there's a lot of pressure on these NBA guys, so I can't blame them. Like, Russ came out. You remember when Russ was getting
too, yeah.
But you remember when it was like Russell Westbrook and all this stuff, and people were, saying he sucked at basketball and everything. And my stance on Russ has always been the same. You can think whatever you want about his basketball talent, but you cannot that dude tries his ass off every single game, regardless of that shot falling or that shot not falling.
Exactly.
And to me, that's the guy I want on my team. Like, yes, is he a little hard to handle? Do players and him not mesh at times? Yeah, he's probably a little tougher to deal with. But at least he tries, and he'll never not try. That's what I love about Russ. KD, though, man, those comments, they just rub me the wrong way as like, dude, you got to be a little better than this. Like, just let it go.
I mean, he has to, and this is obviously new. I mean, maybe this happened in the 80s and we didn't have the, wherewithal to find out, but he has to be the most sensitive millionaire I've ever seen, right? I mean, like, why would you even care, right? I mean, it'd just be like if
hey, again, though, man, it's his right. He can say what he wants online. I mean,
yeah,
just like we all can, right? You can say whatever you want. It's your, he can do what he wants. But man, it doesn't look great. That's all I'm going to say. It looks weak. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Take the high road for once, KD. Like, people would like it more.
It's fun. I like Durant so much too. Obviously,
yeah.
Him coming to Northern California, I wasn't upset by the decision like everybody else was.
No, I didn't care, even though I knew it was a ring grab, but I didn't care. I'm with you. Like, I love him as a basketball. Like, I love watching him play. I think he makes everything look so effortless when I watch him play basketball. That's why I think it's like amazing when like watching him play, because everything looks so easy. Just he gets wherever he wants on the floor. It's kind of like Kyrie dribbling the basketball, right? When you watch Kyrie dribble, he does things and you're like, man, that looks so easy for him to do. And you could go outside, even if you're like a decent dribbler, you could go outside and try and attempt some of those moves. They aren't going to feel as easy as he makes them look. Like, especially when people are guarding you. So, sorry, we're going on like a tangent about not betting and stuff, but
I know. I just had to ask you. I was reading that last night. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But, all right, so let's get back to it. Yeah, Kyrie, best handle since the original Isaiah Thomas. But if you were to take a side on this game, would you lay the 12.5 here, or do you like the Rockets to cover?
I think it all depends on John Wall.
Okay.
If John Wall's in, it makes me a little more comfortable about
Taking the points.
taking the points here because I really don't want to take Brooklyn. Like I think to me it's dog or pass for me here, unless we get Wall out. If Wall's out and I can still get it at this 12 number, then I might be more inclined to take the Nets because, like I said, I don't think they're going to let up. I don't think Harden's going to let up on this team. I think he's going to go I think he's going to want to beat this team by 30 if he can.
And I think the 12 will stick around too. You won't see a tons of sharp bettors with the big money that move markets rushing to lay 12, right? I mean, that's just not the spot they're looking for, especially in the NBA when we get 10 games a night. So, all right. Sorry about the tangent, everybody, but we will be back to breaking down these games. Lean towards laying the 12.5, especially if John Wall is out. Let's talk about the Raptors and the Thunder, another team that I mean, they just seem to cover. They weren't able to do it against Dallas the other night, and I watched the game, and it made me realize I don't want to bet the Thunder when Lou Dort's not in the game. So just like you talked about John Wall, right? That's the one I'm looking for in this game.
We got some news from this game because you said we're talking the.
What's the news?
So Pokashevsky, health protocols, he is out. Ty Jerome ankle is listed as questionable, and they're already without Lou Dort, SGA, Horford. So now these are just two other guys. I mean, both guys who play pretty big minutes for this team. One guy who starts and plays, 30 plus minutes in a close game, and Ty Jerome, who last game played like 28, 29 minutes with no Lou Dort. I mean, those are pretty big roles right there. If both those guys were to be out, that's going to open up a lot for I think for DFS. And then Kyle Lowry is out.
I mean, does that surprise you?
It's the NBA we live in now. It's just what we get. So
no, it's so wild. I mean, it's just when I'm doing my prep. I spend so much more time on the injury report this year than any other year. Sam Presti's gonna have to get Titletown on the phone there to get these 8-man so he can do. He can take Poku's spot, right? They got the same frame here.
I mean, he can at least take we saw him at least he can hit a three. That's what Poku does anyways. Yeah. He just wants to shoot threes.
Yeah, so Title, I'll be your agent. I'll call Presti right now. But so isn't this wild that we have a Toronto team that's lost 12 of their last 13, laying 8.5, and I'm leaning towards laying it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not
12 of their last 13 they've lost. And I'm about to lay 9.
I don't blame you, honestly. Like OKC, I talked about how hard they played Boston. And I think it was telling the spread on the market kind of respects, in my opinion, they've respected them a lot in some of these games where you would look at it from the outside and say, this is a blowout waiting to happen. And they just somehow stay in this game. And so I don't blame you if you want to take the OKC side here, even with these injuries popping up. Because to me, a guy like Lou Dort, that's somewhat valuable because of the way he plays defense and how he's been progressing on offense. So that is a loss. But again, they lost him for the last 2 games. And like I said, they played Boston pretty hard. Does Pokashevsky being out move the needle? No, I didn't value him that much. Do I think Kenrich Williams could come in and give them solid minutes over him? Yes. So to me, I think it's the OKC side, especially with Lowry out and especially the way Toronto's been playing. Mm-hmm. That's the way I lean as well.
Yeah. I mean, Toronto just lost by 14 points to Detroit.
So my wonder is, and I'm looking at, I wonder if, because I can't find obviously I can't find some player props on these Toronto guys right now, so they must have took them off.
They take them all down once.
Yeah, they must have took them off.
Ruled out.
I'll be interested to see what the Van Fleet's props go up to and stuff like that. Siakam, OG, even a guy like Chris Boucher, who for whatever reason, when everyone's healthy, they don't want to give minutes to. But we saw it. Yeah, it's so weird because I think he's a very good player, and yeah, he's not like a banger down low, but he blocks shots, he gets rebounds, he can hit a three, right? Like he can do a little everything. I don't understand it, but for whatever
And the
reason, they
team
don't love
succeeds
him.
with him in there. They were absolutely terrible at the beginning of the year with Baines as the starting center. What spurred the turnaround for the Raptors? It was moving Boucher and to huge minutes. So it's like
But like
the
so,
results are there. I don't know what's going on.
with no Lowry against Portland a couple games to go,
Hmm.
Boucher saw 24 minutes.
Right.
Now you got a team where they play Moses Brown and Tony Bradley are pretty much going to play all the center minutes. I mean, I expect Baines to start, but do you maybe think Boucher comes in there? I think Boucher comes in there, and if he's playing well, they could leave him in there. So I think he's becomes an interesting play at a cheap price tag against OKC. Like, definitely this game becomes more interesting from a betting side. I think we both agree that even though OKC is definitely hurting bodies wise, I still think they have a shot to keep it somewhat interesting from the way Toronto's been playing. And then from a DFS side, I think this game becomes very interesting now.
Oh, it's huge, right? The only thing is the instant pivot, right? I barely knew stuff on DFS, and I knew to just put Norman Powell in the lineup when Lowry was out. So we don't have that one going. So who do we pivot to now?
So I think this news kind of directly actually affects the bigs more than it does anyone else because, like I said, like Aaron Baines, last game he saw 9 minutes with Kyle Lowry in. The game before against Portland he saw 15. Didn't really play that well against Portland either. Boucher, same thing, 16 minutes against Detroit last game with Lowry in. The game before that with Lowry out, 24 minutes. So I do think, the minutes, those guys could see it. The production standpoint, though, it's got to be guys like OG, Siakam, Van Fleet, who get like the biggest production boost, right, with no Kyle Lowry. And OG's game has been a lot better, recently. He's been playing a lot better. His three-point shot has looked a lot better as well recently. So, even though the price tags are somewhat up, you can always bank on big minutes for these stud Toronto guys. So mainly Fred VanVleet, Siakam, and OG are the three guys. And for a DFS standpoint, if you can guarantee me 34 minutes or more, and again with this Toronto team, like I'll take it at $7K for VanVleet or 7,400 on FanDuel, whatever he is. And Siakam at 77 on DraftKings. Like, I'll take my shot.
All right, I love it. Joey Work says he keeps cashing in DFS because of you, so he wants to thank you. If you as well are cashing in DFS, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about.
I had to give Joey Work something because he was giving me all these MLB winners and UFC
it's been
winners.
so much fun, huh?
And
if you guys
last
don't know,
year
on the channel you're watching right now, scroll through the videos. Joey's been doing fantastic Major League Baseball previews. So, if you're like me and you're a casual baseball fan, but you enjoy watching, don't want to cap it, Joey Works the guy for you, right? I can just take Joey's plays.
No, seriously,
back,
if you're wondering who the baseball guy is when it comes to capping baseball, Joey Work is fire when it comes to MLB. You'll see that when the season starts, but
no, it's so much
not
fun,
putting a ton of pressure on you, Joey. But I expect just like last year, the fire. I'm putting the pressure on because I know it's going to happen, so I'm not worried. But just saying,
his name's not Joey Play, so I got confidence in him.
He's good.
Utah Jazz are 35-11, 30-15 against the spread, heading down to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies, 22-22, 25-18 against the spread. What did I read? I read something wild about the Jazz today. They've had a 20-point lead. Let me see if I can find it. I can't find it off the top of my head, but they've had like a 20-point lead in like at least like the last 5 games. They have been absolutely smashing teams. They're not fully healthy tonight, though, right? No Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, so Donovan Mitchell's out. I think it was personal reasons, something like that. So he's going to be out of this game. And we've seen this before, right? We've seen Conley, when Conley's out and who steps in and produces. We've seen it when Mitchell goes out. It's kind of similar, right? Mitchell being out, it's going to probably move Joe Ingles into the starting lineup because that's what's happened in pretty much every game that either Mitchell or Conley has missed. So Joe Ingles will move in. Conley will obviously start at the point guard, but Joe Ingles will also play a lot of on-ball. He'll have a lot of on-ball duties as well. And then you'll have spacers, guys like Bogdanovich and Jordan Clarkson, who can create his own shot or space the floor. You'll have those type of guys who have the ability to have big games. And if you go in and look the last two times that this happened and Mitchell was out, it was against Dallas, both games. They played them 1-2 against the Mavericks. In one game, Bogdanovich went off for a monster performance. And I remember because he was one of the lower-owned guys out of the 3 or 4 main Utah guys. And then another game, Jordan Clarkson went off. So this is a spot where I think Joe Ingles and Conley are the safest plays if you're looking from a DFS side. But Bogdanovich and Clarkson, maybe they're more risky plays because I think they have a better shot to bust, but they also have a shot to have a huge game like they've shown. So it's a very intriguing spot for DFS. From a betting side, though, I don't know about you, Spread. I don't trust Memphis at all. I don't like Memphis. They have just been very disappointing to me. John Morant has been very disappointing to me this year, a guy who I thought was going to have a monster breakout year.
Exactly.
And maybe – so, he looked really good, and then in the beginning of the season, he had that really bad, ankle injury where you remember he, was done for a while after that injury. And I can't remember – I think it was against the Nets, and he – it took him a long time to rehab and come back from it. Mm-hmm. And to me, he just hasn't seemed the same if you watch the first couple games before that injury and then him now. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with it. Maybe it's just the team isn't playing as well.
Does.
But yeah, I mean
that little bit of explosiveness in the NBA, and that's the difference between being an all-star and just a regular caliber.
But it hurts his game a lot because
that's all he's got.
Yeah, that's his game, right? It's not. He's not a shooter. You know what I mean? He needs all of his athleticism to get into the paint and then finish. And he has those ways of you know what I'm talking about, where he jumps and leans to a side and he's falling away from the basket, and he'll make one-hand push shots off the backboard. He's just got really good ways of finishing, but the athleticism is key for him, and he doesn't have that. So it's kind of hurt him, I definitely think. So it doesn't make me want to back this Memphis team. It makes me actually want to take Utah here. And what's the spread right now?
All right, bookmaker. I hate when they do this. My session's expired. You gotta relog in every 5 seconds.
I hate that.
Real quick.
Because I was seeing 5 earlier, I think it was.
I'm seeing -5.5 at -113 right now on bookmaker. I love it. I basically think you're getting free points with Mitchell out because against a team of this caliber, I don't know that they miss Mitchell that much. They've been absolutely stomping team. We said it before. Memphis struggles against teams with size. I think that, my guy Rudy Gobert, 16th best player in the NBA, he's going to have a great night tonight. You should be targeting him in your DFS.
Honestly, he could go lower owned just because of his price tag.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how he matches up with Valanciunas. I mean, do you think that they'll be getting lots of minutes because it's a traditional center matchup?
I mean, I do think it's going to work both ways, right? Because Utah wants Rudy on the floor for his defense anyways. And Joval,
you have more reason.
Yeah, you have more reason for him to play because I think you just need his big body to try and box out and move Gobert. So I do think both those guys are going to play. Don't obviously love it as much at the price tag for Joval, but I do think Rudy could have a decent game. We've seen him pop off in these situations as well. I know one of those 2 games he had, I think, a 20-20 game, 20 points, 20 rebounds type game. So he has that monster upside. And Donovan Mitchell, he just handles the ball so much. Joe Ingles, he is way more of a passive guy, right? Like he wants to pass the ball and make plays. And him and Rudy have that good two-man game. In my opinion, like they're very good at it. Like I think they might be the best at the two-man game because Joe Ingles, he is looking to set Rudy up every time. Where Donovan Mitchell, he comes off those screens and he's going hard at the rim, or he's stopping for that mid-range jumper that he's so good at. But I think Joe Ingles, just from a playmaking standpoint, is really good at the two-man game, which gives Rudy a boost.
Well, I thank you for setting me up here because this is the one stat I wanted to give you, right? So if you go to these the sites, right, Jordan Clarkson is the unanimous favorite if you were to try and bet sixth man of the year right now, right? And it makes sense, right? But my buddy Gav, that I talked to a lot, another Australian guy, sent this to us, and he said, "Are we sure that we have the right Jazz player for sixth man of the year?" And I'm looking at wins above replacement player. Joe Ingles, of all reserves, non-starters, highest wins above replacement at 4.73. Clarkson's sitting there at 3.14. He's at pi. Boucher's actually second on this list. Halliburton's third. But I just thought it was interesting, and I think that Joe Ingles is quietly underrated. Now we're getting more Joe Ingles minutes. I love the spot for Utah. I'll definitely have a bet on the Utah Jazz. The total is 226.5. I like the side more. Were you getting involved in the total here, or do you want to just go to the next game?
No, I think I'm just going to stick with the side. One other thing too, I will say is that just kind of looking at props and stuff, and I'm kind of looking at Joe Ingles. And right now we're assuming Joe Ingles starts, which in every situation where Mitchell or Conley's been out, he has started this year.
Right.
So we're assuming that, which I think is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Joe Ingles' prop for assists right now is at 5.5. And plus 110 on DK Sportsbook. And I'm just looking at, let's just take the last 3 games, 4, 7, and 6 assists in 18, 29, and 23 minutes. He's going to see 30 minutes, maybe more in this matchup. 5.5 seems low to me for a guy who's going to have the ball in his hands even more with Donovan Mitchell out. Give me the over on 5.5 assists for Joe Ingles here. I feel pretty solid about that prop because looking at all these three-pointers, which we all know Utah, they love to jack up the three-point shot, but they have 3.5 for Ingles, 3.5 for Clarkson, Bojan's at 2.5. Maybe that's a solid one. Conley 2.5, but I definitely think 5.5 assists for Ingles is a nice prop to attack.
Yeah, I love that look. That's a great idea, and I love how you're extrapolating the minutes to get the extra usage there for Ingles to most likely go over. Let's talk about the New York Knicks, who are 24-23, 28-19 against the spread, heading down to Minnesota to take on, I think this is the worst record in the league, 11-36, 19-27 against the spread. New York coming off a loss, a 10-point loss at home against Miami, and Minnesota's coming off a 5-point loss in Brooklyn. It's really tough to back Minnesota right now. What are you thinking, though? Are you taking these Knicks? You think they bounce back here?
Yeah, I'm taking the Knicks. I went against my better judgment the last time we were on this show and the Knicks were on, and I did not take the Knicks. And every other time I've taken the Knicks are especially against a team like Minnesota. Minnesota struggles on defense. The Knicks very good defensively. I think they're going to put them in spots where they're going to be able to score on Minnesota, and I think Minnesota, they're going to make it tough for Minnesota to score on them. So I think it's a spot where you play the Knicks here. Just looking at it, the spread is what, 3 still?
-3.5 on bookmaker.
-3.5. Yeah, I'll take the Knicks.
All right, I'm with you on the Knicks. Let's talk narrative. We talked about Harden. How about Thibodeau? Does it matter for coaches? Break it down, JSU.
No, because you know why? He's playing his starters like 35 minutes plus anyways.
What's he going to do differently, right?
Yeah, it's like you're going to play Derrick Rose 35 minutes tonight, who's questionable right now. But I mean,
yeah.
I honestly think this is a good spot too in DFS if Rose is in, or we could look at Rose at 4,800 on DraftKings. Or we could look at Nerlens Noel at 4,900. They're going to want him in there against Cat anyways. Julius Randle's expensive, but he's going to be someone I think people look at. So I do think it's a spot where we could look at some Knicks. On the other side, though, I don't really love Minnesota. I don't want to pay up for some Minnesota guys. I think if you play any Minnesota guys, it's more trying to find like a value play here and there.
Is Beasley back finally now? I don't see him on the
He's
list.
been back the last 2 games.
And how's he done? I missed
He's
it.
had he's taking a bunch of shots like normal, but he's missing a ton of shots. So he hasn't had the best shooting games his last 2 games back, but he's at least taking the shots. 3 for 12, 3 for 10. He took 10 3-pointers last game. 3 for 10 from the 3-point line, 3 for 12 from the field. Last game,
some tournament upside if you want to get risky.
Maybe the game before, 4 for 17 from the field, 3 for 12 from the 3-point line. These 2 games were against Brooklyn and Houston, by the way. Yeah. So, more cupcake matchups, we would say, right? And he couldn't shoot, but he is at least taking the shots. And you're going to tell me 5,600 on FanDuel. You're going to tell me the guy is taking double-digit threes his last 2 games. It's not a bad idea to back. His problem is always he doesn't do as much everywhere else, right? Yeah, you need him to score 20 plus, right? Like that's for DFS. He has to have like 22 or more points, or he's probably busting.
Yeah. So I just thought we'd have to get that in there. He's definitely someone that I got my eye on. I thought the team would improve with him back. Hasn't seemed to help as much as I expected.
I do also think too, like I'm just trying to see what his 3-point. I wonder what the 2.5 is the prop for 3-point for Malik Beasley. I mean, for a guy who takes double-digit threes, are you going to bank on him continuing to have really bad shooting performances? But he's taken 10 and 12 3-point shots his first 2 games back. And the minutes are going to start maybe going up even more. He saw 30 and 31 his last 2. Maybe they get up a few more minutes. Yeah. Remember, those are his first 2 games back in like a month. So
my only concern is the Knicks, even though they give up a lot of three-pointers by like the percentages and by the numbers, Thibodeau seems to do a good job of targeting which players that he wants to shoot the threes and not. And if I'm Thibodeau, I don't want to let Beasley shoot, right? Because they have so many other poor 3-point shooters, right? Let Edwards jack him up. Hope he gets hot.
The problem
Towns can shoot from 3.
The problem is I think that Malik is one of those guys who he's going to shoot them anyways.
Right, but if he's shooting contested threes, then
I'm saying if you tell me a guy's taking double-digit threes and it's 2.5, he needs to shoot 30% ish from the 3-point line. A good shooter.
Yeah, I think I'm talking more about the cap. I love the 2.5 prop. I'm thinking about more about the overall handicap if you were going to try and sneak in Minnesota plus the points, or if you were just going for, like I said, the DFS differentiate. Something to worry about. Maybe the breakout game is next game, right?
Corey Holt in chat was saying earlier, I think don't forget about Trent also. Oh, talking about Gary Trent from Toronto. I definitely didn't forget about Trent. Didn't mention him, but yeah, he's definitely in play, right? 38 minutes last game. He's a guy who, if he's playing well, I think he's another guy who you can add to will get big minutes. But we've also seen other games like the Portland game where he doesn't play as well and he doesn't get as many minutes, right? So I do think there's that risk, but he's also cheap. So I definitely think he's in play for DFS, if that's what we're going at, Corey. It was a good call.
All right, Corey, we won't forget about Trent. And like Eminem said, we won't forget about Dre. The next game we got Sacramento Kings, 22 and 25, 21-25 against the spread. San Antonio Spurs are hosting the Kings, 23 and 21, 24 and 19 against the spread. They just played on Monday, and the Kings won by 17. Normally we like to zigzag here. I don't think that this is a zigzag spot. I think that watching the Kings, as good as he was putting up these numbers, they are so much better without Marvin Bagley out there being the insta-target on defense, right? It's like they shored up their defense, addition by subtraction. I think it's kind of gone under the radar, but since he's got hurt, they're 5-1, right? So it's all great that he gets those cool points and all the
You know
rebounds,
why,
but he
though?
wasn't
I'm
open to
telling
do it.
you, look at the minutes for all these guys, like the main guys. Marvin Bagley takes away some of the, oh, I
The
got to
guys who we
get,
want on the floor.
yeah, the guys who you
Yeah,
want on the floor. It takes away, oh, we got to get, Bagley in there a little more. It's going to hurt Holmes' minutes a little because we don't want to, they don't like playing both those guys that much on the floor together. They
right.
start together, but they really end up like coming in and out
They
for each
stagger.
other. Yeah, they stagger. So I think that just helps it, right? And we're already getting solid minutes out of Fox, and now Halliburton is getting nice minutes, consistent minutes. Buddy Hield has been getting consistent minutes. So it's key. If you, I'll say it, like regular season, you're not seeing a ton of teams give that type of consistency with their minutes outside of like a few. And Toronto's always been one. They've always been one to play their main guys big minutes in the regular season because, they think like, we're getting them ready for the postseason where they're going to have to play those minutes anyways. Some teams think that way. I'm sure that's one of the ways that Tibbs thinks as well, right? Like in the playoffs, we got to give these guys 38, 39 minutes. So they need to be in shape to do it. And Tibbs plays to win every night. So if that's the case, you're playing your best players big minutes every night.
All right. And I usually do this in the final countdown chat, but I can do it live with you today. Thoughts on De'Aaron Fox, 9,300. Do we got to get him in the lineup?
Yeah, I don't like De'Aaron Fox at that price tag. I think it's
just
too
high,
much.
right? Because he
It's
doesn't
too
get any
high.
rebounds.
It's too high. The matchup, it's just I don't like it. I know some people were on it last time out, and what did he get, like 43 or something like that? Like he was fine, but
He's
like
dropping a lot of points.
No, but at 9,300, we want 50 plus, for sure. Like 44 to me doesn't get it done at 9,300. Like that's not what I want. I want at least 50 plus, especially in this day of DFS where we can't take floor games from these studs anymore. Especially on these big slates because there's a lot of good studs going and, one or two of these guys are going to pop off. And if you say that Fox gives you 45 and then we go up 300 more and Kyrie Irving drops a 60 bomb, that's going to be tough to overcome in tournaments, right?
Yeah, it's going to be really tough.
It's a big thing,
All right. Are you with me, though? I went ahead. I already placed this bet. This is one of the few bets. I told you I had problems finding spots. This one jumped out to me. I already took the Kings money line here. I'm not zigzagging here. I think the Kings continue to roll. Would you agree with me on that call?
Yeah, I do lean the Kings. I'm not as confident. You're very confident on this. I'm not as confident, I don't think, as you are, but I do think the Kings can get it done here. One guy I do like is DeJounte Murray on the Spurs side for DFS. The price tag's starting to go down a little, $7K on FanDuel. We targeted him last time out. He had a really good game at halftime. I think he had 30 points at halftime. And then in the second half, he slowed down a lot, only ended with 43 and a half. We thought it was going to be, a 50-plus point game. But I do think he has it in him for that type of game. And this is the perfect type of team, style-wise, for DeJounte Murray to, flourish. This is what he wants. Yeah. He wants that back and forth. That's what he needs to be, ultra-aggressive and everything. And I think he's in another good spot here at these price tags. A really nice spot. Also, too, DeJounte over 0.5 3-point makes. He's hit 1 3-pointer in 4 of his last 5 games. So I just think that's a nice.
Especially against the Kings team that doesn't defend the line very well. I mean, they don't defend very well. But
the problem with him is he doesn't shoot a ton of threes.
Right.
But the ones he shoots are wide open, right? Mm-hmm. He's not taking it because he can kind of get wherever he wants. And I think teams know when they play him, he's always looking to get in to the paint a little bit and shoot that mid-range shot or, make a play for someone else. So that's his first idea when he catches the ball at the top of the key. And so teams know that, so they're kind of playing for it. And sometimes they'll end up giving him those threes, or they kind of let him in rotation when they're rotating on defense. he ends up being the guy they leave open if they need to rotate on defense because he's not like the best 3-point shooter. But if you're going to tell me he's going to get me 3 or 4 open 3-point looks, I'll take my chances.
All right. Just a quick question since we're doing a bunch of tangents today. If you could take one player to your favorite team from the Spurs squad, who would you build around? Who do you think is their best player?
DeJounte Murray.
Do you think he's better than
To me, it's not even close. It's DeJounte Murray. I would love – I think he's such a good player. Maybe because he plays on the Spurs, people don't like notice him that way. Maybe because Pop is so inconsistent with like the minutes and everyone else, like he plays a lot of guys. Maybe that takes away from him too. But I think if you gave this dude like 35, 38 minutes on his own team, where there wasn't like a DeMar DeRozan who just commands the ball so much, and you just told me he had the ball in his hands and he was making plays. God, I would love to build around a guy like DeJounte Murray.
All right, so JSU's building around DeJounte Murray. I'd love the Kings money line here. JSU told me to hold my horses, keep it to a 1-unit bet, don't get overconfident. Let's see if I'm going to be overconfident in this next game. The Milwaukee Bucks are in Los Angeles, and the Bucks are coming off a Los Angeles beatdown from the Clippers. Did they get right against a Lakers team debuting Andre Drummond tonight?
Well, it's funny because, like, if you look at Drummond's had some decent games against Milwaukee specifically.
Yeah.
Some decent games. But I do think when you add a player like Drummond, I've talked about the sport with, like, Vucevic and other guys. You just got to get used to playing with a guy like Drummond. And the Lakers have been playing with Marc Gasol and then Trez. Drummond's a little different in a way, kind of like Trez where he's got, like, that motor, I guess. But Drummond is just a different player. I think they're going to have to get used to his style on the basketball court for, big minutes because I'm assuming they're going to let him go out there and play big minutes. And I just kind of wonder. He's
taking over as the starter. Vogel's pretty much announced that. So
yeah, but I just kind of wonder how it kind of affects everyone else's, because he just does a lot, right? He's running the floor. He rebounds. He can finish around the rim. I think what ends up happening from a fantasy side is he takes away from a lot of these guys, Kuzma, Harold, a lot of the production because he just commands so much down there. He's such a big body. But I'm still down on this Lakers team overall until I see it. And I think it's going to take maybe a few games for Drummond to get back to what he was doing, especially after what has he been away for like a month now? Like something like that.
It's been a while.
So, I think it'd be reasonable for him to take some time to get back to what he was doing. And I think the Bucks are obviously just the better team right now with no AD and no LeBron. I'll just take the Bucks side here, but I don't know. Drummond to me, I don't know if you give more stock in Drummond than I do.
I'll tell you what, as someone who's a Kings fan and roots against the Lakers, I was a little worried about it as a signing overall for their playoffs because I think he's going to help.
Well, I definitely think it helps when LeBron and AD are back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tonight, I don't know.
Yeah, as far as tonight.
So my question for you is this. Do you think that Drummond being out there lowers Schrader's upside? And my idea is almost here like the Embiid-Simmons deal where when you got someone in the paint, there's another center there to rotate. Is Schrader going to get less easy looks at the cup because Drummond's going to be down there, meaning the opposing center is going to be closer to the rim?
I think it does affect his upside. The one thing Andre Drummond is going to do, though, is he's going to go hard to the rim, right? He's going to be he's going to be a threat for offensive rebounds, obviously. I wonder how like that pick and roll game is going to be because I think Schroeder is elite as a pick and roll player on offense.
Exactly.
The dude can get to the cup anytime he wants. I don't like he can drive to the cup and get there so easily. It looks effortless sometimes, and he just has that like quick first step, and he is so fast when he wants to be with that ball coming off that pick and roll. So, again, though, it's going to take some time for them, I feel like, to get used to each other on the floor because that's all timing and everything. And, you got to – how they set the screen is important. And all ball handlers want it a little differently. And, so I think it's going to take time. I don't know. I don't know if Andre Drummond is going to come back and be like the exact guy because of all the long layoff. But from this game, like, what's it, a 9-point spread right now? Do
I'm
I
seeing
trust
8.5.
8.5?
Would you
Okay.
lay the 8.5 there? I can't take the Lakers, so to me, it's favorite or pass.
Yeah, I
Normally,
think
I
this
wouldn't
game is a
want to.
pass. I feel like we've given enough games where I think
Yeah,
we need to pass one or two of these games on a big card. And I
yeah.
think this is definitely
If
a
I were to
game
make
where
an argument
we
for
can
Milwaukee,
pass.
though, I would feel that getting beat down by the Clippers puts them in a position where they want to come out and bounce back right away. I almost
We
feel
can
like,
pass on this game because the next game we're going to talk about is one of my favorite games. So
well, let's
we
just
can,
go straight to that one then, because we've been on for a while, and for the people trying to catch up on their lunch break, they want to be able to hear all of them, and we've gone over an hour, so I don't want
yeah.
them getting in trouble with getting back to work on time. Chicago Bulls 19-26, 23-21 against the spread, going against the Phoenix Suns 32-14, 31-15 against the spread. Originally, I would have liked Chicago in this spot, JSU, but I do not trust Zach LaVine's ankle. I think this team is so dependent on Levine on the offensive end. They can't pick up on defense to make up for the lack of offense that they're missing with him out. And I think that he's really dragging around out there. He's not the same player that we saw basically going into the All Star break. I know Phoenix played last night and barely covered a spread of the same size, but I can't take Chicago here with this ankle injury. What are you thinking?
Yeah, nope. I do not trust Chicago. I love Phoenix again. I think that Phoenix is the play here. Zach LaVine, Billy Donovan comes out yesterday, says the ankle is not great.
Mm-mm.
The quote from the coach.
Mm-mm.
And Levine kind of said the same thing where he kind of feels that, you know, re-injuring it, it's like going back to step one, right, from his
Yeah.
injury prior, where it's like, so that's like a frustrating thing, right? So now he's also frustrated because this injury, it's happened multiple times now. It's the same one, and that gets in the heads of some guys where it's like, I just rehabbed from this injury. I felt like I
Mm-hmm.
was ready to go. You don't know how many like injuries like this happens to where a guy just feels like it's good. He gets out there and then boom, re-injures it, and he's just back to the step one. And it's got to be so demoralizing for a guy like Zach LaVine, who wants to be out there. And again, another guy. What is he? He needs his athleticism. If he
Exactly.
can't use his ankle, I mean, like he needs that athleticism to be the guy he is, the great scorer he is. And so if he doesn't have it, that's not good. If I'm Billy Donovan, do I want my star going out there on a bum ankle when he is key on his athleticism? Absolutely not. So I don't know how you feel about this because honestly, the spread, I thought it would be kind of higher if they thought Levine was going to be out, in my opinion. But I
I
don't
think
know.
he's
You're
going to play. I just don't think he's the same player. I watched against Golden State. I didn't need that Billy Donovan quote. I saw that the ankle wasn't there. He wasn't the
oh
same guy.
yeah.
He wasn't the same guy. So I mean,
But if I'm Billy Donovan, why the heck are you letting him go? It's got to be Levine pushing the play. Then it's got to be the only answer.
it has to be. And I think also there's a little bit of pressure from the front office after making the trade. You can't make the trade away 2 first round picks, and then miss the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
There's pressure from the
But
front
then
office too.
they're
They made it a win
also
now situation.
Kobe White is also questionable for
He's
this
banged up
game,
too.
and they said he couldn't like raise his arm past his neck like last
Yeah.
game. So I don't know what the heck that is, but that's not good for a hooper if you can't raise your arm past your neck. Like I would assume him to be very questionable. Garrett Temple is doubtful to play. He's a shooter who was getting
And
minutes.
normally that wouldn't matter, but with these two guys out, you need Temple. So it is a
Exactly.
big injury now.
Exactly, because Kobe
Right.
White, for his deficiencies on defense, remember, this guy can still go out there and give you 20. So,
Yeah.
like, he has value especially when Levine is on a bum ankle,
Mm-hmm.
Temple's not there, Vucevic is still being worked into the offense, and you've got these guys who are key pieces to the offense in and out of the lineup. Kobe White, Zach LaVine's injured, right? So it doesn't help the chemistry on this team. I think the Suns just end up putting it on him. You think Levine plays? The spread tells me that it looks like he ends up playing too, but honestly, I'm still kind of going back and forth on it because even though I see that, I also see the fact that they know this ankle isn't good, and you're putting your star, in my opinion, in harm's way unnecessarily. Like I don't know. That's just me. So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
like
Vukovic is used to dragging the Magic up and down the floor. I don't see why they wouldn't just run and just say, "All right, we're going to give you all the attempts you used to get."
my only thing is like maybe because Kobe White is really doubtful and not questionable, so it's like he's very close to doubtful, and Temple's already out. Maybe they just need him as a body, but I don't know. I wouldn't risk it if I
I
were
think
them.
it's Levine pressuring himself. He's really,
I did.
made the leap here. He never was really recognized for his abilities until this season, right? We all just considered him, an empty calorie scorer, doesn't help the team win, right? And now, they have a great opportunity. I think he's pushing himself out there. I think that they're all in a tough position. Coach, players, and front office with the win now trade, and then to come down with two injuries to basically your two young centerpieces. That's tough. I like Phoenix here. I'm going to go ahead and lay the points. One other fun
Yep.
thing about this: 8-2 on back-to-backs this year. Phoenix is so they haven't had any problems. And if you watch the slower pace they play, that doesn't surprise me, right? I mean, it's not like they're the Kings or the Wizards that are just sprinting for 48 minutes straight, right? They're under control. They're playing, they're playing well, and they're playing within their means. I love the way Chris Paul controls the tempo, and he was there again last night. Basically, just right off my handicap. Hey, at the end of the game, Chris Paul is going to take over. He's going to get them the good shots they need, and that's going to be the difference in the game. And what should have been an easy cover turned into just a cover, but it was because of Chris Paul. So, um,
Right.
yeah, I like
And it,
Phoenix here.
it is a back-to-back, but I'm just so worried about Chicago offensively. And against a team like Phoenix, who is a really good team, it worries me a little bit less with a team like Phoenix and the style that they play. Remember, it's not a fast-paced style. It's a very slow. They like to dictate pace, and they do a really good job at it. So even though it is a back-to-back, I'm not as worried about it with all these other pieces going into it. And yeah, I mean, Ayton has a nice little matchup inside. I think Chris Paul's going to be able to get wherever he wants. This just seems like it could end up being a blowout for Phoenix, especially if Levine is not right and they run him out there, because that could be even worse, right? If he's not right and they're running him out there anyways. So I do think from a DFS side, Corey Holt was asking, is there any value if some of these guys don't play from Chicago? Absolutely. I mean, even in a bad matchup, if Zach LaVine and Kobe White are both out, and Temple's out, one of these guards has to play big minutes regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be Denzel Valentine? Could it
Could
be,
be my guy Sato, who was in my lineup every day for like 2 weeks straight.
Sato? But Sato's going to start. So, let's say they get blown out and there's no
Okay.
LaVine, right?
He'll
Could
stay
it
in
be
there anyways, though, won't he?
Could it be Javante Green, who they just kind of traded for? Got 10 and 13 minutes his last two games. Denzel Valentine, Archie Dinacino, Ryan Archie Dinacino, however you say his name. He is someone who might see some more run. So I do think it's viable to look at those pieces. The problem is we might not get this news on Levine for sure playing, Kobe White for sure playing until like 9 at night, because that's a 10 o'clock game. And there's only one other game to pivot to if we get it at 9, and that's the Milwaukee-LA game.
Which is
And I don't love that game as much.
City all over it.
So these late games, to me, depending on when we get news. Now, guys, if we get news at 5 o'clock Eastern time that Levine's out, Kobe White's out, and they're telling us, Denzel Valentine will start, or, Javante Green will start. Well, they're 3K or whatever they are. So, yes, they become for sure in play at 3.2K for Valentine and 3K for Green. But we kind of need that news. Another guy, Troy Brown. Does Troy Brown get more run if those guys are in? He's another guy I think could potentially play more. 17 and 14 minutes his last two games. He's 3K. So you could also you could also put these, if we don't get the news, put these guys in your lineup and kind of wait until that 8:30 game, which is the Kings
Spurs.
Kings game, and I think that's a solid game where if you had to pivot to more guys, like you could do that with the Kings and Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure you have an out, like because if Levine and Kobe White play, then guys like Brown and Valentine, they become not as great plays, right?
All right. Well, that sounds like a definite strategy for everyone to employ when building their lineups. Hey, we make a lot of predictions here. I predict that Levine's going to play and be less effective, but I think he's going
That's
to
what
drag
the
himself
spread
out.
kind of tells me, so
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go, guys. About to go to Gregory Russo's favorite segment, but before we do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. JSU, best bet for today, side total or prop?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the prop. Been hitting the props pretty good. I'm
Yeah, you've
gonna
been doing well.
continue with it, and I'm gonna take the over on Joe Ingles' assists at 5.5.
All right, I'm scrolling down right now there. And you go ahead and give out a couple more because you had a couple other props just for the people. We'll make the assist as the official best bet. Oh, I'm getting plus 105 on that.
Yeah, that's nice.
What were the other props that you gave out that I need to jump on too that you liked? You had a couple others.
So I like a lot of the Harden props. Like
Okay.
I think a lot. Like I think you could bet him for a triple double. I don't hate that prop.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the over on points as well, 27.5. Even though it's a little high of a number, I guess, with Kyrie in there, but I do think he has a shot to get there. The other props that I was looking at, I'm trying to think. The DeJounte over on threes, which was
Oh
point
yeah, that
0.5.
was the one that I really liked.
That one I liked.
And was Beasley another one?
Malik Beasley over 2.5 threes, I thought was a solid prop. And then Luka over on rebounds, 7.5 was the prop. I saw that. I think there's some value in that over as well.
All right. I'm going to go ahead, and I rarely do this, but I'm going to use my local team. I'm going to take the Kings. I'm going to grab the money line against the Spurs. I'm so impressed with this team without Bagley. They're finally defending at a pretty good level. Seems like two teams going in different directions. The Kings definitely, kind of making that win now playoff push. A lot of pressure. I think this is the year. If they don't make it this year, we tie. I think it was the San Diego Clippers, not even the Los Angeles Clippers, for most consecutive seasons of playoff fertility in Northern American sports. So there's definitely some incentive there for them. I think we're going to get full effort. You talked about Luke Walton using the shorter rotations. He's obviously feeling the pressure too. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Kings money line and. JSU gave out Joe Ingles over 4.5 assists. You can get that at plus
5.5.
five
I
and a
think.
half, over five and a
Yeah.
half assists at plus 105. Guys, thank you everybody for watching us. RunPureSports.com is where you need to head for all your favorite DFS. Promo code HEATER25. You will have access to JSU on the final countdown tonight. So a lot of these situations that we just discussed will have the clarity, and he's going to tell you this is where we're pivoting to, this is what we're targeting. And guess what? It's only 11:30 for me over here on the West Coast. There's going to be plenty of news that we're going to have to digest and spit out, and JSU's the man to do that with you, with Holden, who will read anything off the teleprompter. So go ahead and have fun with that in the Discord chat. Of course, the Hardwood Live Show will go live at 4:45 Eastern. So head on over to runpuresports.com to check that out. Over on runpurebets.com, we've just been killing it. Joey Work getting ready. He's already got Major League Baseball plays posted. Score with D has been giving me the soccer winners. Haven't even watched any of the games. I just checked the account and it's higher. Maybe one of these days I'll actually watch one of these soccer games that I'm tailing him on. JJ been doing well with the college basketball as well. Jay, what can I say? Just absolutely crushing the NASCAR and the UFC with our guy Coop. Another DFS and bets kind of pairing that's just worked out so well. That Sunday NASCAR show. Another one I don't watch. I just get the notification on my phone, walk over to the computer.
Hey, you just plug in the winners and then just wait
and
for
keep
that,
watching basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
They can drive it around in a circle. I'm going to keep watching basketball.
Yep.
But it's great. The money spends the same whether or not I watch the game or not. So runpurebets.com. Head on over there for everything you need. Tomorrow, I haven't confirmed yet, but most likely I will have Hoop and Title. I think we'll get Title in here finally. I think he is back from all his victory parades. doing all the morning show segments for such a great win that he had and really elevating himself in the minds of the scouts everywhere. So we should have title on tomorrow. AP and Tyler will be with me on Friday, and Tyler and I will finish up the week for you guys on Saturday. So be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Jace, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Nah, just make sure you sign up to Run Pure Sports, Run Pure Bets. Use the promo code HEATER25, which will go away. I think tomorrow is the last day, so you got about
Yeah.
1 day left for that promo code, 25% off your first month package at Run Pure Sports. So make sure you get over there. And then if you sign up for that, it's only an extra like $20 for the bet side if you already have the DFS side. So
Exactly.
might as well get the bet side as well because it's just winners. We keep giving out winners. You guys on the bet side are crushing it, and baseball is going to crush as well. So get on board.
Yeah, we've been having so much fun. You guys need to join the movement and just have some fun with us because there's nothing more fun than cashing these tickets and spending that cash. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I will see you guys tomorrow.